Hi, I'm Brian Ferrie, Golf Course Superintendent at Horseshoe Bay Golf Club. Welcome to the shop. We're on the Door Peninsula, so we have the Bay of Green Bay to the west and Lake Michigan to the east. In the spring, we stay quite a bit cooler for a longer period of time than the bulk of the state on account of the fact that the ice hasn't gone out of the bay and the lake is much cooler. So there's definitely a moderating effect. But that same moderating effect helps us in the fall stay warmer. So September and October are great times to be in the area. Tee to green, we're mainly bent. Penn cross on the tees, Providence on the fairways, and greens, and a really nice blend of bluegrass in the rough. We've got about 60 acres of fescue and natives around the periphery of the property, which is a little bit of a challenge to manage, but we're doing our best to deal with that right now. I always say it's all about the touches. The more touches you can get on an area, the better the manicure is, the better the conditioning becomes. So you want to get on and get your, get the machines and get your feet on those areas as quick as possible and as often as possible to really give you the best kind of turf conditions you can. I've got a very dedicated long-term crew, but a lot of those guys are aging out, and filling those slots has been a real challenge. Labor costs and labor availability is always a struggle up here. We're recruiting people that my existing staff want to have on the crew next to them. They know that they'll pick up the pieces behind, that they won't add any extra work for somebody else. So my staff internally is probably the best recruiting that I've had, over the last, almost 20 years. My assistant Aaron does a phenomenal job of managing irrigation from a perspective of ET, and has really done a great job of improving the property as a whole.
One of my main roles is controlling the irrigation system, and this is our Toro Lynx control. Like Brian was saying, it's the lifeblood of our job and keeps us with a job. If I am out in the field and I see a dry spot or see a spot that is starting to brown out, it really helps me come and with confidence know that I'm actually adjusting the head that I want to adjust.
I've got a primary rough mower 4700D that is new this year to us. It's the second generation 4700 that we've had. I've got two sidewinders that do kind of trim and cleanup work alongside that machine. We've got 4 fairway mowers, 2 of which are primary, a third is a frequent use, and so now we have a beautiful building to be able to house all of our assets in one location between this building and the original building next door, which was built in 1999. The benefits of the building are just its size. We don't have to really crowd equipment in, so you don't have to worry about breaking off a hydraulic motor or running carts into each other, things like that. We try to do our best to create as much space as possible that at least that we could afford, and while still getting things, like I said, in one location. Something's being mowed pretty much every day, but our primary mow days are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's when we'll roll our greens, fairways, approaches, which is why we stage a lot of those things in close proximity. The greens mowers, fairway mowers are staged here, as well as the tee mowers, just because they're the ones that require the most checks, adjustments from that perspective. So we keep them close to Ski, our mechanic. And then the only other thing we really store is our spray rigs, on account of the fact that then they're kind of close by, not a lot of activity around them, to keep them kind of safe and out of harm's way. The 3555 is a machine that we bought a couple of years ago to replace a first cut of rough mower, and in using that and the compactness and the quality of the cut and the size of the cut have led us to believe this is probably going to be the future of our fairway fleet as well. So that's really coming down the line in the next year or so. So we've been really happy with that. The machine next to it is a newer technology. It's a Toro 360, which isn't really common on a lot of golf courses, but we realized that we bought it for 2 purposes. It's got a lot of power for the inches of cut that it has. So we use it on a weekly basis for manicured turf, and in the fall we use it to knock down a lot of our fescue and natives. Anytime we've ever had any questions or issues, the guys with Reinders have been very responsive. We really use the website extensively for a number of items. For the most part, at the beginning of our season, we do most of our purchasing ahead of time. So there's always, if we decide to do some additional sprays here and there, we would actually run short. So if we need another case of Daconel, we can view the product real quickly, get a price per unit, and if you have any questions regarding rates or anything like that, the product labels and the SDS sheets are actually right there. All specs, you can get informational videos. Basically, it's everything you need from reading the label off of the product itself.
That's probably one of our number one go-to resources. Rather than picking up the phone, I know it streamlines the whole experience for everybody. We make, I would say, pretty extensive use of it.
Thanks for touring the shop at Horseshoe Bay Golf Club. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.